again? I forget the name.
Belong.
So, I don't even know what I'm a leader. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Just kidding, I haven't played out. So, I'm going to start out with my story, you guys. So let's start from the beginning. I was born June 13th, 1996 in Best Kaiser Hospital down in Portland, Oregon. So I'm from Portland. That's pretty cool. I became a Christian on July 5th, 2001. My father was reading the Good Friday story. It's a comic book. They're called art books. And he was reading that to me, and I was like, this is cool. Jesus died for my sins. I want to have that. So I decided to ask my dad if I could become a Christian that night. And we knelt by my bed, and we prayed. And so that was the night that I fully committed my life to Christ. Since then, nothing too crazy has happened. It's been a pretty normal story. I grew up in the church, not actually in the church. I was living at home, but I went to church every Sunday and everything like that. So yeah, not that weird guy who just stayed there the whole time. Don't worry about that. Yeah, so I grew up in the church. My family, we were a good family. Had two loving parents, two brothers, one older, his name was Jesse, one younger, his name is Levi. Yeah, pretty basic. But I didn't really go anywhere super crazy with my faith at the time. I didn't exactly know what it meant to take it for myself. I was kind of living through other people. My parents were like, oh, this is what my parents believe, so I'll believe this also. Because it seems pretty cool, we're happy, so why not? Then come freshman year of high school. I met my two best friends. One of them was named Mason. I know, kind of weird. I'm Mason, he's Mason. We were called Mason Squared in high school. It doesn't make sense, but that's okay. That was our nickname. My other best friend name was James. Through high school, these are my bros. They still are my bros. They're going to be some of my groomsmen at my wedding. Mason's going to be my best man, so that's going to be funny. Mason's going to be married, and Mason will be best man. So, weird. Yeah, they're my bros. Throughout high school, they helped me through everything. They were there for me. We played basketball together. We shared our feelings to each other. It was pretty exciting. Good bro time, Yeah, so it was really exciting. But I still didn't really claim my faith for myself until senior year came around. Throughout this time, God was completely nurturing me, being like, hey, you can kind of go this way. I didn't really hear anything life-changing from God, but I can see how God was guiding my path the whole time. But then came senior year. I met the two mentors that I had in the senior year. Their names were the Rows. They were a married couple. They were teachers at the high school, Mrs. Rao and Mr. Rao. They were awesome, and they were insane. They're still working at my high school, Prairie High School, I forgot to say that. And yeah, they're just amazing. They're life-changing. But yeah, what happened is I got to meet with them. I helped start a small group my senior year of high school for the high school. We met every Thursday night at someone's house, and we just tried to bring people. We do worship. We have crazy games and whatnot. It was super fun. We also started a club at the school called CSU. It's Christian Students United. We meet every Wednesday during lunch. We have worship. We have a speaker. It's pretty cool, pretty chill. But I still wasn't quite at the point where I had claimed it fully for myself until I moved away to college. And college is a scary time of life. I can still remember in my mind saying goodbye to my parents as they dropped me off at Nash Hall over at Western. My mom started crying, of course, so I don't know if you guys know, but I cry a lot, so that's okay. I get it from my mother and from Lauren, so that's okay. Yeah, I still remember saying goodbye to my parents, seeing them walk down the street, and then I was officially alone. Not completely, the school was supporting me, but I was like, wow, I have no parents. I can do whatever the heck I want to now. It was fine for the first quarter, but then the winter quarter came around, and I dropped into a pretty big depression. I didn't know what to do with my faith. I didn't know how to ask other people for help, because it's not something I've ever had to do before. Help was just there, and help was just given to me without me having to ask. So winter quarter of my freshman year was a pretty rough time of life. I didn't know how to continue on in my faith, because I had never experienced this type of emotion before, this type of numbness in my soul. So that was really difficult for me. But spring break came around, and I went back home to meet with the Rows, because I was like, something's wrong with me. I gotta talk about this, and it took me a long time to actually admit that something was wrong with me. But yeah, so I went back, I talked to them, and they're like, there's another teacher from the school. Her name was Mrs. Bonnie Camp, something like that. I didn't really know her that well, but she told the Rows Mason needs to claim his faith for himself, and he needs to find joy and love in the Lord instead of from other people. And that was something that I was doing a lot. I was finding joy and love through other people instead of through God. So that was a pretty big life changing. That's kind of the moment that the switch flipped. I don't know what that is in my life, and I was kind of like, oh shoot, this is actually for me. And since then, I took my faith as my own, and I began to actually want to know more about God on a personal level because I could be in a relationship with Him. He was my friend, He was my Father, He was everything. That's what God was. So yeah, nothing too crazy though. I met Lauren somewhere along that line, and you can see how God works through that. If you want to know more about that story, you can ask me later. Probably at Dairy Queen. Yeah. So just throughout my life, I've been looking back. I can see. I don't know what's happening. Story? Yeah. It's gonna take me like 30 minutes to tell the story.
Quick version.
Quick version?
Yeah.
There's no quick version with me. That's the thing. I struggle with the quick version.
Dairy Queen.
That's right. I don't know. I'm a gentleman. I like to tell the news. Moving on. Yeah, so after I talked to the Ross, I took it for myself. I can see how God was nurturing me through this whole time. After Laura and I started dating, about a month after that, my small group leader, Woodrow Moore, passed away. Something unexpected. He had pneumonia and something else, but it was like a blood clot or something that it killed him. So he died during that time. So that was the first time out of my whole life that I really experienced something completely tragic in my life. And the way that God was kind of nurturing me through this whole time was through other people and going through the depression of winter quarter and actually realizing like that I needed to take my faith for myself was really good for me because I saw that God was preparing me for something big like that. It's cool looking back. I can see how God is continuously guiding my path through other people telling me like these things. God uses, for me, He uses other people to tell me what He wants. So that's really cool. I also can hear Him like alone, but the big way is through other people. So that's really cool. But to me, my testimony isn't that crazy. I don't have like this insane like I wasn't like homeless for a long time, and then I met God through that. I wasn't like a drug dealer and I got in jail and God met me there or something like that. I have a pretty normal story, it feels like. And this is where I need my notes at. It's just not that crazy. Like that's a cool testimony, yeah, for sure. At least that's how I think about it. But that's not how I should be thinking about my testimony. Your testimony is your testimony. My testimony is my testimony. It's something I needed to take for myself. And I have this cliche verse, but that's okay. That God's been that I've had to listen to a lot in consideration of my testimony. It's Psalms 139, 13 through 16. It says, "For you created me in my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." That last book, where God says that all your days were ordained before me, before one of your days came to be, has been something that I've really had to take and fully accept that God is the one who's controlling my life and He's the one who's writing my story. So even though I feel like I have just this normal, boring testimony, I have this big God upstairs who's writing the story, down the story of my life, and He's telling me where to go, and He has a plan for my life. So because of that, my testimony is not a normal or boring testimony. This is a testimony that God, the Creator of the universe Himself, has been writing down since day one, since before I was even born or anything like that. God has been writing it down. Says, "Jason, I have a plan for you. This is what you're going to do." And so that's really big for me because I'm wow, my testimony is kind of boring. It's yeah, I claim my faith for myself, senior year, freshman year of college. That's not how I should be thinking about it. I should be dang, God wrote my story, and through this, I was finally able to claim my faith for myself, my senior year of high school and freshman year of college. God was preparing me. This is not just a normal story. It may sound normal to myself, but God has needed to tell me, and it's something I needed to understand, that every testimony is not normal. And so something I really need to learn is that I can't be ashamed of my testimony. No matter what it is, no matter what happens coming forth in the future, no matter what's happened in my past, I can't be ashamed of not telling it. Because sometimes it's easy for me to be I don't have a very life-changing testimony. This person is not going to relate to my testimony. I don't know. I just don't need to share it. I could share something else, and they might get more out of it. But that's not how it's supposed to be. God wants us to share our testimony because He's the one who wrote down the days of our lives in His book, and He's the one who knows what's going to happen. So we can't be afraid to share what God has written down. Okay? I don't know. That's kind of the main thing that's been happening that I've been thinking about preparing for the series coming up. That we can't be ashamed of our testimony no matter what. If you think you have a boring testimony, like I think I have a boring testimony sometimes, you can't be afraid to share it because God's the one who wrote it down. And that's not boring no matter what happens. God writes it down and God's cool. So that, I don't know. That's just cool. So yeah, that's just something that's been on my heart, and that's kind of what God was telling me. So I don't know how to give a proper closing, but that's about it. Break.